Kana have not be relatives. Mimbi Wata Shkaopi Miha. Welcome back to the channel. Um, give people a chance to get in here real quick before we get started. Want to welcome everybody here today. Just wanted to go over a little bit of information on the Indian tribes of Virginia. So again, trying to give everybody a chance to get in here. Welcome. And let me say what's up to some of the people in the chat while we're waiting on people to get in here. Stephen Redclay, kind of hobnobby, my brother. Good to see you. Sherlock Holmes, honor to you. Thank you for being here. David Taylor, as always, honor. My brother. Daryl Thornhill, honor to you as well. Good to see you. Miss Melody Jenkins. I did get your email, and we will talk. Absolutely, I will get that taken care of. LaShaw, peace, sis. Thank you for being here. Radames Prince, honor to you, my brother. Good to see you. So if some of you have noticed, I have Wowsha, peace. Good to see you. If some of y'all have noticed that I have changed up the name of the channel, I wanted to shorten it up a little bit for people who are having problems maybe pronouncing some of the words that I had in my channel, name of my channel. So I shortened it down to Opie. But definitely I'm still Opie Miha, Sioux Nation. So the new code piece, good to see you. So I wanted to cover some of the Virginia Indian tribes. So we'll kind of we may end up all over the place with this once it's all said and done, but we're gonna get into this a little bit. So the tribes I wanted to cover today were the Pamunkey and the Mattaponi, because they do actually show up quite a bit on the family histories that we go over. So that's kind of why I wanted to go in that direction. So what we'll do is, let's see. So I think we got about 16, 17 people in the chat. So I guess we'll go ahead and jump into this. Oh yeah, also, for anybody who didn't catch this last time, I showed this website, and I'm going to put the link back in here again. It says the name of the site says Myers Related Families in Southeast Ohio and Remus, Michigan. This site actually has some pretty good genealogy work done in it. A lot of my relatives are in it. So if you are in Ohio or Michigan, this may be able to help you out a little bit. Or if you even had ancestors who lived in those states, so that might help you as well. So I wanted to throw that out there. T Tribe, Toledo, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Vicky Simmons, peace. How you doing, sis? Good to see you. So what I wanted to do is, so we're going to start with the Pamunkey Indian tribe. I'm going to show you guys a couple things. So they do have an actual site that has information on their tribe. So what I wanted to do is go over this a little bit with you guys. Read a few things, maybe get some surnames so that if you are related to these people, you actually can make that transition over to the tribe. So hopefully you've gotten into your genealogy enough to where you can say for sure you are part of this tribe. So give Give me just a second here because I kind of had this set up in a way to where we could see the surnames. And I may have to go back and find that again. But anyway, wanted to read a little article, and this is on Access Genealogy. Excuse my mic if it's making noise. It says characteristics of Pamunkey Indians. So let me blow this up, make it so you guys can see it. Okay. So as I read this, we're going to see some hijacks, of course, because there always is whenever someone's writing some information about us. So, as always, dodge these hijacks. Understand and overstand the information that's being read. Okay. Let's check the chat one more time. Hey, Jazzy. High Vibe says, good to see you here. Okay. So, characteristics of Pamunkey Indians. It says no member of the Pamunkey tribe is full Indian blood. Okay. It says while the copper-colored skin and the straight, coarse hair of the Aboriginal Americans show decidedly in some individuals, it says there has been considerable intermixture of white blood in the tribe and not a little of that of the Negro. It says through the laws of the tribe now strictly prohibit marriage to persons of African descent. So again, that's nonsense. We know this tribe has a lot of our ancestors' surnames in there, and we know that this tribe has a lot of our people in it. Okay, so again, dodge these hijacks. All right. And it says, no one who visits the Pamunkey could fail to notice their race pride. It says though they probably acknowledge the whites as their equals. And again, this is the person who's writing this article's opinion. It says they consider the blacks far beneath their social level. So again, nonsense. Okay. It says their feeling toward the Negro is well illustrated by their recent indignant refusal to accept a colored teacher who was sent to them by Superintendent of Public Instruction to conduct a free school, which the state furnishes them. Okay. It says they are exceedingly anxious to keep their blood free from further intermixture with that of other races, and how to accomplish this purpose is a serious problem with them, as there are a few members of the tribe who are not closely related to every other person on the reservation. It says to obviate this difficulty, the chief and councilmen have been attempting to devise a plan by which they can induce immigration from the Cherokee Indians of North Carolina. The Indian blood of the Pamunkey tribe is estimated from 1/5 to 3/4. Okay, so again, this tribe, has our ancestors' surnames. So again, this isn't coming from this actual tribe. This is this person's opinion that's writing this article. So again, if your surname falls within this Indian tribe, if you are wanting to become a part of an Indian tribe, I would definitely advise you to try to apply for membership if that's what you are wanting to do with, the information that you're finding with your ancestry. Okay. So again, these articles are written to try to deter you from, thinking that, these could be your people, and try to deter you from, trying to get membership within the tribe. So again, I guess we could just say screw it and let the tribe just go to whatever direction it's going to go to, and then your ancestors, put in this work for nothing. Or you could fight for the tribe that you're a part of and not let it go to the wayside. Okay. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Exactly, Mr. Lamar. Exactly. So that's why I'm saying we can't just let this stuff go, man. These tribes were our people, and we're just letting them go and saying, I don't want to be part of the tribe and all this other stuff when we need to get into these tribes because they're ours and our people, formed, had these families and these clans and all this other stuff. Okay. Anyway, it says the Pamunkey as a tribe are neither handsome nor homely, long nor short, stout nor slim. In fact, they differ among themselves in these receipts to the same degree found among the members of a white community of the same size. It says they are not particularly strong and robust, and their average longevity is lower than that of their neighbors. It says these facts are perhaps in a measure attributable to the frequent marriages between near relatives. It says the average intelligence of these Indians is higher than that of the Virginia Negro. With a few exceptions, the adults among them can read and write. In view of their limited advantage, they are strikingly well informed. A copy of one of their state papers will serve to give an idea of the maximum intelligence of the tribe. It reads as follows. It says, we, the last descendants of the Powhatan tribe of Indians, now situated on a small reservation on the Pamunkey River. It says 24 miles from Richmond, Virginia, and 1 mile east of the historic White House, where General George Washington was married to his lovely bride in the St. Peter's Church. We are now known as the Pamunkey tribe of Indians, following the customs of our forefathers, hunting and fishing, partially with our dugout canoes. It says, we hereby authorize Terrell Bradby to visit the Indian Bureau of Washington and all of other departments and Indian tribes, and also to visit the Columbian Exposition in Chicago. It says, we undersign request that whenever this petition is presented, the holder may meet with favorable approbation of the public generally. And then it says it was signed by C.S. Bradby, Chief Counsel J.T. Dennis, W.G. Sweat, R.L. Sampson, T. Bradby, Town Clerk, R.W. Miles, and then it says Trustees Josh H. Johnson, W.T. Neat, B. Richards, M.D., and then it says members of the tribe, E.R. Allman, A.J. Page, G.M. Cook, W.A. Bradby, T.T. Dennis. Okay. So if you guys have been paying attention when we've been going over the family histories, all these people are Negro. Okay. Every single last one of these names. So again, this tribe has our people in it and always has had our people in it. And our people were found by the Pamunkey River. These are people. So again, whoever wrote the information in this article, that was their opinion on, who these people were and different things like that. So just because he's writing, that's their feeling, doesn't mean it actually is, unless one of us tries to actually apply to become a member of this tribe, and then we find out what the real deal is. So again, we're at the point now where we're not just taking people's word for anything anymore. Okay, you got to do your research. You got to check on it on your own to make sure that that you know personally what the information is. Okay, so exactly, Chickahominy roots. That's right. So that's what I'm saying. These people keep trying to tell us that they don't like Negroes, and you guys were never a part of these tribes. But we see the surnames and we see the people who are in these tribes, so we know personally what tribes our ancestors were actually in. So Chickahominy roots is Chickahominy roots knows. So I'm just gonna put it that way. All right. So continuing on, it says the Pamunkey Indians are temperate, moral, and peaceful. It says ill feelings between the tribe and their neighbors is almost unknown. They are exceeding proud of their lineage and love to tell how bravely and stubbornly their forefathers resisted the encroachment of the whites. Then it says Ope Chancano is their hero. They take special delight in relating the familiar story of how this noted chief, when old and infirm, was carried on a leader to battle, that his presence might inspire his men to deeds of bravery. It goes on to say, it may be amiss to give here a tradition concerning this tribe, which is related as explanatory of the name of a certain ferry that crosses Pamunkey River about 10 miles above the reservation. The name of the ferry is Piping Tree, now spelled Piping Tree. So the tradition runs thus. On one occasion, the Pamunkey Braves met a committee of white settlers at this place and negotiated a treaty. When all the terms had been agreed to, the consummation of the treaty was solemnized in usual Indian fashion by handing around the same pipe to the representatives of both nations, each taking a puff as indicative of friendship and good faith. It says the pipe was then deposited in a hollow tree nearby, and ever afterwards, when the colonists disregarded their agreement, the poor Indians would remind them of you piping tree. Okay. Then it says, aside from their mood of substance, there is nothing peculiar in the manners of the customs of these people, except perhaps an inclination to the excessive use of gaudy colors in their attire. Their homes are comfortable and well kept. The houses are weatherboarded and are, as a rule, 1.5 stories high, and consist of from 1 to 4 rooms. It says the best structure on the reservation is their church building, which services are held every Sabbath. The church receives the hearty support of the whole tribe, the membership of the church and that of the tribe being almost coextensive. As to their creed, they are all of one mind and adhering to the tenet of the Baptist denomination. So they're Baptists. But I wanted to read that information about the Pamunkey. And again, like I said, they do have a website that talks about their reservation. You can go and look at the council members. You can pull all these names up. So they do have a tribal government. Their chief is Robert Gray. You can go and look him up. You can see all the different names here of the people who are still part of this tribe that come from the lineage of the family histories that we, been actually reading about. Okay. So the other thing is, if you are wanting information and any of those names show up and you think, maybe you want to become a tribal member, they have an email on their contact information and a phone number where you can reach out and talk to somebody. Okay. So just wanted to put that out there for all those. Arthur Gray, peace, brother. Good to see you. Knowledge Seeker, peace, sis. Thank you for being here. See if I missed. Oh, Lonnie, peace, sis. Appreciate you being here. Let's see, Sherlock Holmes. Peace, brother. Okay, so let's move on. So we talked about the Pamunkey, and we're going to get into some more information on these people as well. Let me go here real quick. So I was going through the family history and introduction, and let me get back up here to the very top. So what I did was I just typed in Indian. since we're talking about the Pamunkey, let's get specific on them here real quick. So we're kind of going to go in order here, where it talks about the first Pamunkey Indian and the family that's associated with this tribe. So it says that John Dungy. So we've all heard the Dungy family surname. So anybody out there that's listening, this surname is associated with the Pamunkey Indian tribe. Okay, so I'm just going to read this real quick. John Dungy, a free mulatto, received 30 lashes in July 1755 when he was convicted of the attempted rape of a white woman in Brunswick County, Virginia. It says he was probably the grandfather of John Dungy, a Pamunkey Indian, descended from the Aborigines of this dominion, who petitioned the Virginia legislature to allow his wife, the daughter of a slave and her slave owner, to remain in Virginia in 1825. Okay, so one of the Pamunkey surnames that we've found so far here is the Dungy surname. Okay, so anybody with that genealogy, dig in. Again, contact the tribe if that's what you, if you're wanting to become a tribal member, that's what you should do. All right, so let's move on to the next information here. It says by the mid-18th century, Indians on the Virginia's reservation were too few in number to have continued to exist solely through endogamous relationships. One of the largest reservation tribes were the Ginakaskans, who were assimilated into the African American population. So again, we're always told that Indians don't look like us. So it's awful funny that we keep reading and keep reading and keep reading things that keep on saying that we're assimilating into each other's population. So how is that if we don't look the same? So again, you know, you're going to keep hearing things that people are going to tell us that we don't look like this person, we don't look like that person, they don't look like us, we don't look like them. But you keep on seeing that in information, they're gonna give you little truths and say, oh, they simulated, they simulated with each other. So I mean, again, how is that if we don't look alike? Anyway. It says, likewise, the Pamunkey and Mattaponi Indians of King William County, Virginia, married African Americans in the area surrounding their reservations. It says in 1708, there was a Pamunkey Queen Anne and 12 great men. So again, even with this African Americans thing that they keep trying to throw in there, it never just says Africans. It always says African Americans. So apparently there were original Negroes of this land, and they weren't from Africa, or they would just call them Africans. There's no need to call them African Americans if they were from Africa. All right, so we got to read in between the lines, and like I said, we got to understand what this word is trying to tell us. Okay, and then it says Mr. Yonks, Mr. John, Mr. Poe White, Tho Beck, Fra Macaco, Sham Marin, Henry Marshall, James Corvin, Thoss Rogers, Charles Thoss, C. Wash, John Hicks. It says Palmer Calendar, Virginia's State Papers. And it says 40 years later in 1748, the tribe, George Langston, John Langston, William Langston, George Taha, John Sampson, Thomas Cook, Thomas Sampson. So the Sampson surnames, the Cook surnames, and Langston surnames, I'm going to show you some pictures of how some of these people look. So, I'm sure you guys can guess they look like Negroes. All right, so we're going to move on to the next thing. So more information about the Pamunkeys. It said it is likely that the Langston, Sampson, and Cook families descend from non-Pamunkey men, which is, whatever. Whatever that means. The Langston family apparently descended from Indian Langston, who was paid by the Henrico County Court on October 12, 1691 for killing wolves. All right, so let's move on. And then we actually got some information on the Chickahominy Indians, and I'll get into that here after I get through with doing the Pamunkey things. See here, let's move on. It says on September 12, 1771, a slave owner advertised in the Virginia Gazette that his yellow complexion slave Frank had run off to his Pamunkey wife. All right. Next information, the Revolutionary War pension files for John Collins and Stephen Freeman indicate that the Pamunkey and Mattaponi Indian communities were part of the free African American communities in the surrounding counties and grew up with each other as children in the 1760s. All right. Get Kudameo in here real quick. Give me just 1 second, guys, and we'll continue on. Kudameo, can you hear me? Kudameo, you in? All right, he'll be in here in a second, I think. There he is. What's good, brother?
Peace. Peace, Opie. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem, man. Appreciate you being here. Just going over some of these Virginia Indian families.
Yep.
So like I was saying, the John, so it was saying John Collins and Stephen Freeman indicate that the Pamunkey and Mattaponi Indian communities were part of the free African American communities. So again, guys, they keep on kind of telling you without telling you that we're the same people. So again, here, if we go down here a little bit, here's some of the surnames that kind of intertwine with these people. And I've gone over some of these surnames with you guys. So we got the Adams family. I went over the Allman family. So we went to detail about how, you know, they were, you know, what Indian tribe they ended up being from. We got the Arnold family. We got Bradby's. We got Brisby. We got Collins. We got Cooper, Costello. We got Dickey. We got Dungy, Edwards, Freeman, Hills, Holmes, Holt, Key, Miles, Mills, Page, Sweat, Twopence. And I want to show you guys something with this Twopence family because we went into detail about their Indian tribe as well. We got Wheeler, Willie, and Wynn. Okay. All right, let me move to the next one. And Kudameo, if you got anything, you can just interrupt me, man. Jump in. So it says several members of the Langston, Sampson, and Major families moved to Petersburg and registered there as free Negroes in the early 19th century. Minerva Gunn, an Indian of the Pamunkey tribe, married Austin Curtis, a free Negro in Petersburg, and immigrated with him to Liberia. So here is a example of an Indian, you know, Indian people going to Liberia. So, I mean, it says it here. And then it says, as did 3 members of the Sampson family. So, you know, we got Indians going to Africa, not the other way around. Not Africans coming here to America. We got Indians going to Africa during this time frame. See what you guys are saying in the chat. Right, Vicky, exactly. So this information that's written is recent from a person who did some, you know, investigating on these families from back in the day. So yes, so he's using the term African American. What may have been there was Negro. It could have been Indian. but he's putting his spin on it, just like with all the information that we normally read. Everybody gives their opinion on who we are instead of, just saying what we actually, what we were actually called. So, the guy, um, Paul Hennig, yes, he's going to put people who were here in the Americas, he's going to write them down as African Americans because, during when this was written, that was the proper term to use. So, yeah. So here it says 145 whites in King James County, Virginia, petitioned the legislature on January 20th, 1843, concerning the Pamunkey tribe, saying they all have 1/4 or more of Negro blood. Not an individual can be found among them whose grandfathers and grandmothers, one or more, is or was not a Negro. Their land is now inhabited by 2 incorporated bands of free mulattoes in the midst of a large slaveholding community. Okay, so more interesting information there. And they're telling you again what these people are. It says the Pamunkey submitted a counter petition in which they claimed that there are many here that are more than half-blooded Indian, though we regret to say that there are some here that are not of our tribe, Pamunkey Indians. So all that means is that they were probably taking in Indians from other tribes. And that's all that's all that's trying to say. All right. And then it says by the 1850s, the Pamunkeys were frequenting Richmond. Terrell, Richard Edwards, and Pleasant Bradby advertised in Richmond newspaper for the return of their free papers, which they had lost in Richmond. Pleasant Miles attempted to have his wedding reception there in 1853, but the police broke it up because the law against free Negroes congregating together in large numbers. 16 of the 20 guests were free Negroes, residents of Richmond. 4 were from the Indian town. Okay, so again, they're telling you without telling you who these people are. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to add right there what important is, how they make all those laws, to, like, so you can't gather. What happens when you gather and unite? You create plans, right? You make moves. So, because they didn't want, they wanted to keep you in a state of indenture, or, they want to defranchise people of color. They weren't doing that to the light skinned people who were getting their freedom, or indentured servants who were, so there was a whole scheme to keep you in that status, keep you as a chattel, and eventually it just became something known only to dark skinned people. But these laws help create that. They were doing that on purpose for that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep, you're right. And then it goes on to say that the July 1853 edition of the Richmond Morning Mail reported that the mayor had called the attention of his police officers to the fact that a large number of half-bred Indians, or rather descendants of the Pamunkey tribe, who by intermarriage were Negroes, had obliterated all traces of their originality, were congregating in the city, and as far as he could prevent it, they would not be allowed to settle here. So the mayor said all that. Like, how would he know? It's just an odd statement. Maybe he did say it, maybe he didn't say it, but it's just kind of odd to me. So let's continue. Let's see. I think we read this stuff here. Yeah. So, okay, so another person, we got Rhoda Sampson. So again, the Sampson surname is a Pamunkey Indian surname. So again, if you have this in your genealogy, you should definitely be digging in and finding out. It says Rhoda Sampson, a descendant of the Pamunkey Indians, was a resident of Richmond between 1854 and 1860. So it sounds like We had a lot of these people in the Richmond, Virginia area. And those of you from Virginia can probably correct me on that if I'm wrong. When she appeared in editions of several newspapers after getting into fights, once with a slave and once with Betsy Martin, a free negress, an associate. Okay, and then our next thing is going to say by 1900, descendants and spouses of just one free mulatto, Thornton Almond, represented 41 of the 50 persons on the Mattaponi Reservation and 31 of the 84 on the Pamunkey Reservation. So we've gone over the Almond family history. So here's one of the families. So this gentleman here is Alexander Almond that my cursor is moving around. So we've gone over this family. These are Negroes, as you can see. And he is son of Thornton Almond and his wife, Dicey Major, which I believe is this woman here, is a Pamunkey Indian. So as you can see, we got two different Indian types or tribes that married with each other. So, again, we all know we're starting to see a lot of these surnames that we all have showing up in different tribes. Okay. And let's see. So we got another one here. So we got Lee Major, which is this gentleman here. And we've all seen this picture. That's Sarah Langston. She's a Pamunkey. And they are in Mattaponi Indian town. So he's probably a Mattaponi. So again, you guys can see what these people look like. Okay, so there's your proof. See what they're saying in the chat here. All right. Go back to where we were at. Okay, let me catch up with what I was doing here. Okay, again, they're talking about John Dungy. So we went over the Dungy family, and I think we got through all that. Okay, so wanted to read about the Mattaponi Indians since we mentioned them. If you guys can see this picture here, this man and this woman. Let's read here. It says, for good reason, the Mattaponi may be classified differently as a branch of the Pamunkey. It says they have not only an absolutely identical cultural foundation, but are a member of the same original political body, divided from the main body by a distance of 10 miles, and occupying land which was evidently a portion of the original tract reserved under the name of Pamunkey Reservation. Their present reservation is almost 75 acres. This is on the south bank of the Mattaponi River, near the hamlet of Wakima. Their own settlement is called Indian Town. It says it is a compact, picturesque village of whitewashed houses on a high bluff above the river and commands a fine view. It says there is a tradition at Pamunkey that the land intervening between the two reservations was sold for a barrel of rum. Miss Page, who in 1920 was 83 years of age, said that this was the understanding among the people of her generation. She was born at Mattaponi and asserts that Billy Major, her mother's father, who died in 1845, could speak Indian. At Pamunkey, there were at the time several in the family of Mush and Guns who, it is claimed, knew the language. It says the Mattaponi records in existence comprise a deed according to Chief Costello, referred to in a letter from L.C. Garnett, Assistant Attorney General, June 26, 1916. Through this instrument, the Mattaponi lands were confirmed to the Indians in 1658. It is stated in a letter by the Governor Assembly of Virginia, Indian, colonial, and state laws. Thomas Jefferson made several remarks concerning the Pamunkey and Mattaponi, One being that there were none of pure blood living in his time, 1781, and that the language had disappeared, which we know is false. Okay. Dodge the hijack. His records, however, bear indication of being neither extremely accurate nor carefully considered. Even from the historical point of view, it is doubtful whether he had an opportunity to do more than observe some of the natives at long range. It says the Mattaponi have not been conspicuous in literature. It says Pollard in 1894 quoted Dr. A.S. Gossage as saying there were 30 to 40 Indians here. He also believed that they were a branch of the Pamunkey. In 1907, Mooney took a census of the members of the band in his Powhatan survey, enumerating 40 souls and the following family names. So we got the Almond family name with these people. We got Collins, we got Costello, spelled a couple different ways. We got Langston, we got Major, we got Reed, and we got Tupins, which is 2 pence. So this is another spelling. So we've gone over the 2 pence Indians, and they are Mattaponi. It says, but now by birth and migration, they have increased to about 75. Mooney's remarks concerning their condition and their occupations hold true today as well as then. It says the community is less in touch with the outside world than the Pamunkey, and so exhibits a somewhat more rural aspect of culture than the other groups, excepting perhaps that at Adamstown. There is much intercourse between the Mattaponi and Pamunkey, several of the families having a common origin. This is a question of priority is rather interesting here. The original families, that is to say, those Mattaponi, whose members have not resided off the reservation, have dwindled to 2 individuals, according to the assertion of these 2 themselves, namely Nanny Tupins and Powhatan Major. It says the assertion is validated by tradition, for it seems that the population consists for the rest of the descendants of the adopted Pamunkey families. And what is more interesting, several Indians from the Powhatan groups lower down towards the bay among them. For instance, the ancestor of the Almonds is known to have been a native of the band of Powhatan in Gloucester County. The grandfather of this family came from near Gloucester Point on York River, nearly opposite Yorktown. Says descendants of this band are said to be still on the spot and to have a separate school. I have not, however, visited them to verify the statement. So we have a gallery here. So this first picture here is the one I originally showed you, and it's also the thumbnail. So that is Lee Major. He says Mattaponi wearing the native hat made of duck skin. So we got McGuire Langston. So you guys can see the Negro features, you know, and yes, he has straight hair. So doesn't mean anything. We also have Laue Collins. All right. Mattaponi. We got, who else do we have? We have another Mattaponi man. All right. I have some cousins that look like that guy. We got Powhatan Major right here. All right. We got Mary Langston. She's a Mattaponi. All right. Looks like some of y'all's grandma. All right. We got Mantley Langston. All right. We got an unknown Mattaponi woman. We can kind of see her, kind of can't see her, but here she is. We got Molly Adams, Upper Mattaponi. All right. So who else we got in here? We got Nanny Tupins. Nanny Tupins Major. Or 2 pence. So you see, Kudameo, how this all ties in together, how we come back around full circle.
Yeah.
So more Mattaponis. And again, looks like a lot of people in our families. Here's John Langston.
Yep.
See, I got a couple more pictures. Here's some Mattaponi girls. Look like some of y'all sisters, moms, grandmothers, aunties. Let's take a look. All right. We also have some Mattaponi boys. Take a look. All right. All right. So it says the surnames that are associated with the Mattaponi are the Almonds, the Collins, Costello, Costello, all the different spellings. The Gunn surname, Langston. We got the last name, surname Major, Mush, Page, Reed, Tupins, or Twopence. So I'm gonna keep reiterating this. So it's Twopence is 2 pence. So don't let them fool you. We got you. We know all the different spellings.
Yeah. Almost sounds like the 2P.
Mm-hmm.
Indians,
Yep.
2P. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So Kudamel, you can go in if you want on anything you saw there. If not, I'll keep it
Man,
moving.
it was just awesome info. You know, it's a lot of info out there that people don't even not aware of.
And the crazy part is Chickahominy Roots, which, I appreciate this brother because he's always in my chat all the time. And I'm sure he's in yours as well. He's telling us that these are his family members, these people that I'm reading about. So, I mean, definitely. Yeah, I mean, he's telling us. G West, peace, sis, good to see you. But yeah, he's telling us about, these people and these tribes that are, related to him. And here is the website for the Upper Mattaponi Indian tribe. Again, guys, if your family members are, their surnames are showing up in these tribes and being a part of an Indian tribe is your goal, you got to reach out to these people. Okay, you have to. So there's phone numbers, there's emails. These people are in the same place they always were. If we look at the tribal government, we can see the names. So we got Frank Adams, we got Tommy Twopence, or Two Ponce, but it's 2 pence. Al Twopence. I mean, so we broke this down. This Twopence surname, they are the original. That's the original surname of these people. And when we go back to the family history, we see the original Twopence was a Negro. So he was an original person they found. And they tried to, indenture him. All right. So let's go back. Let me jump back in this here. So on the Mattaponi, on this introduction here, they don't have a whole lot as far as like they kind of combine the Pamunkey and the Mattaponi together when they're talking about them. But what I wanted to do is go back into this real quick and just type in the word Indian, because we're going to get a lot of information when I do that. So there's 138 mentions of the word Indian in this. So guys, excuse me while I click to the very beginning of it. But the whole purpose of this particular live stream today is that, I just wanted to tell people we got to stop messing around. If whatever your goal is as far as finding out this information, you need to start going for that goal. I know some of us are getting stuck with genealogy, but you got to keep pushing on it. Again, if you are coming up with these names in your genealogy, however far back you've gone. You need to start investigating it and start hitting up these tribes to let them know, hey, this is my family. If you want to become a member, you should do so. So just starting here, it says free Indians blended into the free African American communities. It says they did not form their own separate communities. So again, guys, they keep on telling you without telling you we're the same people. I mean, it doesn't get any more clearer and plainer than this. Again, so they talk about East Indians, and we really probably need to get into this at some point in time, Kudameo. I don't know how much information you've dug in on this, but I keep seeing this quite a bit.
Indians in the 1800s mainly brought a lot of them as indentured servants.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So are they referring to the island area when they say East Indian?
I would assume they refer no. I would they're most likely mean the other India, the East India.
Okay. So from
So
the place we call India now.
yeah,
Gotcha.
that
Yep.
area, Hindustan.
Yep. So as you guys can see here, they're talking about East Indians, people being brought over here from there as well. So again, we haven't even gotten into this. So I mean, there's a possibility that some of our families could be part of this.
Yeah. So we gotta verify also, what they mean by East Indian. So
Right.
like what
Right.
I would do is try and see who they're talking about.
Right.
You never
Exactly.
know. They never know. They call you African, so I mean,
Right.
never know what the hell.
Well, down here in this other little column right below it, it says for a number of East Indians who were free persons of color and slaves in Maryland, Virginia, and North Carolina, it says they came over from England as indentured servants. But again, like you said, we need to do a little bit further digging into this and find out, what the actual truth is on this. So, like I said, I haven't had a chance to really get into it, but they do differentiate by calling them East Indian.
Yeah.
So, and then it says in 1691, the Assembly prohibited the manumission of Negro, mulatto, and Indian slaves unless they were transported out of the colony. It also ordered that white women who had children by Negroes or mulattoes were to be sold as servants for 5 years and their children bound out for 30 years. So we've read a lot of information on that. In 1705, the Assembly revised the law of 1691 to include the children of Indian servants by Negro or mulatto and extended the term of the children's indenture to 31 years. They also eliminated the ability of slaves to earn their freedom by ordering that the farm stock of slaves be sold by the church wardens, and the profit applied to the use of the poor. So anyone that hasn't had a chance to do this, Henning statutes at large, go ahead and take a look at that when you get some free time.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, Henning statutes at large. So this
it basically explains all the stuff that happened and how you became how Chattel and the statute laws that they were creating to separate the classes and by eventually by color.
Yeah.
So
exactly. Let me jump in the chat real quick just to see what people are talking about. Empress Copper, Fox, peace. DJ Arion Prince, peace. Good to see you. Daniel and Belinda Malone, good to see you. Let's see. Just saw somebody. Oh, Autonomous Copper Main, 8th Lion, and Petawaste relative, good to see you. Pamela Eyes White and Clear, peace, sis. Halito. 333 Chuck P, peace, good to see you. All right, and Nighthawk, Alito. Henry Copeland, peace. All right, Wanagi, Petawaste, brother. I don't know if I got to give you a shout out. Great video, by the way, today. Again, much needed information, my brother. Appreciate you always dropping the truth in those bombs. So let's continue on. So our next mention, let's see, I read that. All right, so it says 50 families descended from free slaves, 29 from Indians, and 19 from white men who married or had children by free African American women. It is likely that the majority of the remaining families descended from white women, since the first appear in court records in the mid-18th century, when the slaves could not be freed without legislative approval, and there is no record of legislative approval for their emancipations. All right. Next mention. So again, they have a little breakdown on these family members and surnames. The next mention here says Table 1, descendancy of free African American families in this genealogy, Virginia, North Carolina. Then it says white servant woman, free slaves, Indians, white men. So as you can see in this category, the white men category, or the, we're always talking about, the slave masters raping the women. It's pretty low here if we look at, what research was done. All right. Not saying it didn't happen, but again, pretty low. It says, in an apparent attempt to clarify the matter of John Bunch's petition, Virginia passed a law in October 1705 for the clearing all manner of doubts who shall be accounted a mulatto. Be it enacted and declared that the child of an Indian and the child, grandchild, or great-grandchild of a Negro shall be deemed accounted. So I did a video on this. It's been a while ago, where we were reading again. This all comes from Henning Statutes at Large, but it says accounted, held, and taken to be a mulatto. This has been taken by some to mean that there was a community of people of mixed white and Indian ancestry in Virginia. However, no such community existed, and there was no mention of Indians in October 1785 Virginia law, which was enacted specifically for declaring what persons shall be deemed mulattoes. All right. So let me read this real quick too. It's part of that. Every person whose grandfathers or grandmothers anyone is or shall have been a Negro, although all his other progenitors, except that descending from the Negro, shall have been white, shall be deemed a mulatto. Or so every person who shall have 1/4 or more Negro blood shall in like manner be deemed a mulatto. So again, coming from Henning Statutes at Large, they decided to make up this rule. We didn't. So again, it really doesn't apply. Let's see.
So I'm gonna put the website where you can find all these volumes of the statutes of laws of Henning. Just put in the subject. Well, you gotta sign up with your email, and just put in the subject, the name of the book, Statutes of Large, or you can put Henning to it. You'll see them pop up, all the different volumes. The statutes at large, that. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, because like Kuname was saying, that is the statutes at large. Henning Statutes at Large is a big volume of different chapters or books or whatever you want to call it, but it's huge. So if anyone has ever gone through that, you'll know. Gretchen Helm, peace. Appreciate you being here, sis. Sweet Kajik, peace. Good to see you. But if you guys go to archive.org, just like Kurt Mayo said, type in Henning Statutes at Large and you'll find it, or just Hennings. You should be able to pull it up. All right, guys. So let's see here. Let's keep it moving. It says, thus, free African American and Indian households can be identified by the taxation of their female family members over 12 years of age. Some light skinned people would claim to be white to avoid this discriminatory tax. And they would be listed by the tax collector with the notation, refuses to list wife. And then it says it was in the interest of the tax collector to classify those of doubtful ancestry as mulatto, since he received a portion of the tax. However, those with some political and economic influence, like the Bass and Bunch families, were often listed as white. So that's an interesting paragraph we just read. Very interesting. So you guys see what was going on back then.
Yeah.
Did you want to say something on that? Could have, man.
Yeah, no, I showed it in a couple of my videos. A lot of the times white they weren't just talking about complexion.
Right.
We've shown, I think in your family the different status. We showed in Wanagi's family, it went from white to black in 10 years. His grandma.
Yep.
So you gotta be careful with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So next it says, so here we go. This is kind of important here too. It says many of those who left the state were enumerated in the 1840-1860 census of Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, and Michigan. Some went to Canada, and a few to Haiti and Liberia. And it says by 1857, when Henry Chavis immigrated to Liberia. So we do have a Chavis that actually went to Liberia. He said life for free African Americans in North Carolina must have been truly oppressive. A letter written from him to his friend Dr. Ellis Malone of Lewisburg in Franklin County describing Liberia sounds like that of a recently liberated slave. So this is what he wrote. He wrote, "This land of freedom, a nation of free and happy children of a hitherto downcast and oppressed race, I now begin to enjoy life as a man should do. Did my colored friends only know or could have seen what I already have seen, they would not hesitate a moment to come to this glorious country." Okay, so that is from Henry Chavers. He wrote that. All right. So our next mention here, it says, according to Keeger, free Indians in Charleston were part of the free African American community. They married members of the free African American community and were members of the Brown Fellowship Society. So I've never heard of this society. So if anyone wants to do any research on that, it's called the Brown Fellowship Society. It says, it may tell us what it is. It says an organization of lighter skinned men which maintained a cemetery, operated a school for the children of its members, and supported charity and social functions. It says proof of descent from a free Indian allowed free African Americans to avoid the discriminatory state captation tax. And then it says free association of Indians and African Americans is also evident from the family genealogies. Rachel Garden, a free Mustie, married Robert Baldwin, a free black man, in Charleston on September 5th, 1801. All right. Let's see if our next mention here. So next we got triracial Portuguese and Indian communities. So it says some of the lighter skinned descendants of these families formed their own distinct communities, which have been the subject of anthropological research. Those in Robertson County, North Carolina, are called Lumbee Indians. It says in Halifax and Warren counties, Saponi. In South Carolina, Brass Ankles and Turks, which is interesting. In Tennessee and Kentucky, Melungeons and Portuguese. And in Ohio, Carmel Indians. It says several fantastic theories on their origin have been suggested. One is that they were from Raleigh's lost colony at Roanoke, and another that they were an amalgamation of the Siouan-speaking tribes in North and South Carolina.
Yeah, you gotta. There's a reason why they put, when they put triracial, they put things in parentheses. Because they say in Portuguese parentheses. You know what that means. Like. So we gotta be careful with that because there was a lot of American Indians that were being colonized by Portuguese, and they spoke the Portuguese language, just like English, were colonizing other Indians, and they taught them the English language. That doesn't make them English. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So a lot of those times, like for example, a lot of Indians were being brought to Cape Verde. A lot of them were colonized by Portuguese here and in Cape Verde, and they will come back. They're still Indian, they haven't mixed, but they will be considered Portuguese if they're speaking Portuguese. Or it was either that, or like you were reading earlier, they would rather be white or Portuguese than called the Negro or black. It was like the status was way different. The benefits, everything. There's a lot to it's very complex, this subject, but there's a lot to dig into and think about, and that's why they use these parentheses.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that knowledge, Mayo. Thank you. So next it says that, however, 18 witnesses for Perkins testified that Joshua Perkins was something other than Negro, Portuguese, or Indian. They say little about his physical characteristics and those of his descendants. Instead, they argued that he could not have been a Negro and been so totally accepted by his community. Dark-skinned man resembled an Indian more than a Negro. He was generally called Portuguese, living well, kept company with everybody, kept racehorses, and John Watson rode them. Okay, so that's just a breakdown of Joshua Perkins' description. All right, that's more on him. And so next we're going to get into Indian ancestry. So it says, during Bacon's rebellion in 1676 and for many decades afterwards, thousands of Indians were enslaved as the English colonists expanded their lands to include more of Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. Over 30,000 Indians were sold into slavery in South Carolina alone. So that's interesting. Mostly to the West Indies and New England. And then it says Gregory Ablasky, Making Indians White, the Judicial Abolition of Native Slavery in Revolutionary Virginia and its Racial Legacy. And anybody wants to read that book, that is in the University of Pennsylvania Law Review. And there's a link as well. Let me click on that real quick, see if it pulls up anything for us. It absolutely does. So I'm going to drop this in the chat.
That's the actually very good article. It's very long. It's really good. It has 4 parts. The videos I did by the same name.
Oh, nice.
Making Indians White. I believe that was part 8, 9, 10, and 11 of from Indigenous American to African American. So this is a really good article for you to understand. When they're talking about all these tags they're placing and classifying people as, and how it wasn't always about complexion.
Nice. All right, so let's go ahead and drop that link. There you go, relatives. So if you guys want to do some digging on that, definitely can do so. Let's go back. All right. Took my thing off of there. There we go. Okay. So it says over 30,000 Indians were sold into slavery. It says, but some were also held in the same household as African slaves in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Maryland. Many of small children, perhaps because they would not have been able to escape or know where to escape to. It says Virginians were already bequeathing Indian slaves to their heirs for life in 1682. when Virginia passed a law which allowed masters to purchase Indians from neighboring tribes and any other trafficking with us for slaves and hold them as slaves for life. Again, hinting statutes at large. So could have mail dropped a link where you guys really need to go in and take a look at this when you get a chance if you already haven't read it. Says thus, when the Indian children were brought into court in Henrico County, Virginia, in 1683, a year after the law's passage, says to record their age in order to know when their masters should start paying taxes on them. The court noted whether they had come in amongst the English before or after the 1682 law making Indian slaves. 31 Indian children who came in after the law were treated as slaves, and 22 who came in before were treated as servants to serve until the ages of 30 years. Huh. Okay. Then it says another 34 Indian children were brought to court to have their ages adjudged in a Charles City County court between 1687 and 1695, and another 30 in Henrico County between 1691 and 1712. And it goes on to say that about 1% of the taxable slaves in Surry County, Virginia, were Indians between 1680 and 1700. And Indian slaves were listed in the inventory of the estate in Virginia, North Carolina, and Maryland throughout the colonial period. All right, let's move on. Okay, so some more reference where the word Indian comes in. We got Daniel Jennifer's Negro slave called Old Daniel had a child by his Indian slave. Then we got Nanny before April 15, 1687, when Jennifer made his Accomack County will. Their child Annis was called a musty young woman in December 9, 1697, Accomack County court case. Mary Scarborough's slave Sango had an Indian wife named Molo. When Scarborough made her December 19, 1691 Accomack County will. All right, move on. Then it goes on to say, however, about the year 1772, Virginians came to have a different view of Indians. They were not equal to whites, but they were not as inferior as Africans, and thus would not have been enslaved. Only Africans were of such a low class that they deserved slavery. This was conveniently at a time when there were no Indians available to be enslaved. And they were no longer a military threat to the colonists. All right. That's ridiculous. And it says the courts took the view that anyone who could prove descent from Indian women should therefore be set free. It says after 3 or 4 generations of living with African slaves, descendants were more African than Indian. So how's that possible? Anyway, let's see. So we got the not Negro law. So let's go into this real quick. The concept of Indians having a higher status than African resurfaced in 1833, the year after Virginia passed very harsh restrictive laws against free African Americans. In response to this, a Norfolk County legislator helped pass a law which allowed very light-skinned people to register as Indians. So you guys hear this? It says the thinking behind the law was that people were practically white should not have to suffer the indignity of registering as free Negroes. And it says of the families that were registered as such, only the Bass family had any Indian ancestry. Dasha hijack. And then that was from 6 generations back. Ironically, Norfolk County did not apply this law to the Cook family, who had actually had a court ruling that they were free based on the descent from an Indian woman. All right, let's move on. So I did a video going over Robeson County, going through the years, and anybody that wants to do any research on this. So Robeson County, a lot of the people started out, you know, the usual way, mulatto, Negro, all the way up. And then eventually you get to a year where they finally get changed on the census to Indian. Okay. And then they still have people in their county, you know, neighbors that are showing up, you know, where they're still listing the neighbor as Negro or Black. Okay. So again, I did a video on that. You guys can go back and check that out. Let's see. It says that a lot of the people in Robeson County that are part of the Lumbee, they claim these people are Croatan Indians. It says after the island near Roanoke Island. And it says white residents of Robeson County ridiculed the idea by shortening the name to Crows after Jim Crow, and the community changed the name to Cherokee Indians of Robeson County in 1913. The Sioux Indians of Lumber River in 1934 and 1935, and they were recognized by the U.S. Congress as Lumbee Indians in 1956. After many generations, they developed an Indian identity. Okay, so again, they're trying to categorize a lot of people under Cherokee Indians, but these people actually were not what we would typically call a Cherokee Indian. It's just kind of again, another generalization, like like a lot of people use today. Let me jump in here real quick. Aphrodisiac Black Bones piece. Let's see, Yolanda Clue piece. All right, so let me see here. So in this next section, it says the colonial tax list for Layton County listed the following mixed race families as mulattoes from 1768 to 1770. We got Brave Boy, Carter, Chavis, Clark, Cox, Cumbo, Demery, Doyle or Dial, Drake, Evans, Goins, Groom, Hammonds, Hayes, Hunt, Ivy, James, Johnston, Jones, Kersey, Lamb, Locklear, Lowry, Overton, Oxidine, Perkins, Phillips, Russell, Skipper, Sweating, Walden, Wharton, Wilkins, and Wilson. Only one person was called an Indian, Thomas Britt. All right. Let's see here. So, but again, I want to drop this introduction link for you guys. So if you want to go in and do some more research on anything, you can.
Yeah, it's a good website. There's a lot of critical, a lot of information you can cross-reference with other, sources, so you can get the true identity of these people. Other than what they're, tagging them as here, the different colors of the rainbow. That would adjective they can find.
That's right. Absolutely. Vixen 99 piece. Appreciate you being in here. So again, just wanted to with this live stream go over some of the Virginia Indian tribes. So what I'll probably do on the next live stream is hit up some more of the Virginia Indian tribes, and we'll kind of stay there for a little while and go in on some of those tribes and surnames and different things like that. So Kudameo, did you want to give any final words? I'm probably going to shut her down now.
Yeah, no, it was a good build, a lot of good info actually. So I hope people enjoy it and take advantage of it.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you for being here. Again, guys, I wanted to do this video because we got to start making some moves on, as far as, what decisions you're going to make, for you and your family. And anytime I tell you guys, something that you should do, just keep in mind, you need to do what's best for you and your family, no matter what's going on around you. you guys all live your own lives, and I don't live your life. You don't live my life, but you got to do what's good for you and your family in the end. Okay. So again, I appreciate everyone that came out to listen to me in Kudameo. Again, guys, if you are choosing to join an Indian tribe, hopefully you're getting a little bit closer surname wise on, what family your people fall into. But again, love all you guys, and I appreciate you guys coming out and listening. And I'll keep on posting, what topics you guys want to cover, and see if we can start incorporating those things in. If it's something that I, can find some information on or some knowledge, I'll definitely talk about it. All right, y'all. So love all you guys, and take care. Have a great day.